Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another session of the TMDSAS office hours. My name is Sulema, and I am the TMDSAS Support Coordinator with TMDSAS. I welcome you guys to this session. If you guys have been with us before, welcome again. I'm so happy that you guys have joined us once again. If this is the first time that you are joining us for Team DSAS office hours, I want to welcome you to this session because it is a way for us to provide another avenue for you to receive answers to your questions. It is an opportunity for you to ask your questions live. I'll do my best to be able to address those for you. And all you have to do is enter your question into the chat, whether you are tuning in from Facebook or our YouTube channel. Feel free to ask your questions. Again, I'll be here as long as need be. Usually, these sessions range between 30 minutes to about an hour, depending on how many questions we get. And if you don't have the opportunity to watch this in its entirety, or you know someone who would benefit from the questions that were asked in the session, feel free to come back and rewatch at a later time. This recording will be available right after this session ends, so it'll be available for you to watch. Okay. And I did want to let you guys know that we are about roughly 2 weeks away from the deadline for those who are applying to the TMDSAS Dental and Medical schools. The deadline for that application will be on November 1st at 5 p.m. Central Time. So I'll go ahead and enter the deadline in the chat. And just so that if you get anything out of the session, you know that the application deadline is quickly approaching. Okay, and this application deadline is for those who are applying to dental and medical schools through Team DCS. Just know that all we need from you is for you to submit your primary application. Your letters of evaluation and your scores don't have to be on your application in order for you to submit. So if these are the two items that you're still waiting on, but your application is already complete, don't hesitate. Go ahead and submit your application. Typically, it can take up to about 4 weeks for our team to process applications at the office and get those sent out to the schools. But right now, on our tmdsas.com website, we have the processing times for letters of evaluation and, of course, the primary application. So at the time, right now, our team is currently processing applications that were submitted on October 12th. So if you submitted within the next few past days that passed, just be on the lookout for your submission date. And I'll go ahead and link that page in the chat as well. And this information is updated daily. It kind of just depends on how many applications were received per submission date. So some days we might have had a lot more applications received than others, and so that's why there's not necessarily a specific amount of time that it'll take for our team to get to the next submission date. Just depends on the applications that were submitted. I will say though that right now it's not as hectic as it was at the beginning of the cycle back in May when we were having hundreds and hundreds of applications submitted a day. Right now, it's not so chaotic. So if you submit your application, don't worry, it will be processed in a timely manner and sent out to the schools. And if you're worried about whether you still have a chance to be able to get an interview invite or even get an acceptance to the schools at this point in the cycle, we just want to make sure that you know that it's not too late. The last day that you can submit your application will be on November 1st. If you try to submit after that date, then yes, you are late for the cycle. So I can go ahead and share some information that we have about what it means to apply early. What does it look like if you submit your application now? What does that mean for your chances of getting interviews, as well as acceptances? So let me go ahead and paste that below. Okay, so the link to the video that we have, it's a short video, so it's very informative. It gives you information about what the application cycle looks like, the how that plays out if you submit in May, if you submit in July, or if you submit on the deadline date, which is in November. So it has a visual for you to kind of follow along and see what it would look like for you if you submitted at this point in the cycle, what that looks like for your window of opportunity for your interviews, and when you can expect to hear acceptances. Acceptance offers are going out as of this week for all medical schools. Medical schools have started to send out acceptances um, as of October 15th. So this week is whenever we're starting to get all those questions about acceptance offers from those who have already received an acceptance. So, just to give you all some information, whenever you receive an acceptance from either a medical or dental school, at that point, TMDCS will reach out to you to collect transcripts. This is the only time that we need transcripts and the only way that TMDSAS will reach out to you to collect them. So, unless you're told otherwise, don't worry about transcripts. Save your money, and then just let it be a worry until you need to worry about. So, information about transcripts can be found here, and this information is super generic. It's just to let you know. Once again, don't worry about those sending them in until requested. I also wanted to go ahead and share some updates that we made to one of our articles in the Inside Health Education newsroom. This is an article that has a lot of information about what to expect about the school rank preference. So, for those of you who've already interviewed at schools and you are now able to go in into your portal and rank your choices, this information in the article will give you the all the information you need to know, the deadlines for that, what it is, what the school rank preference is, how to rank your schools, where to locate the page where you can rank your schools, and any additional information you need about match and what comes after match. It's a lot of information. It is a pretty lengthy article, but it does outline everything you need to know. And I believe it's a little bit more simple to follow along rather than just looking at our policies, which can be confusing. So I'll go ahead and link it in the chat below as well. Alrighty, so I know I gave a lot of information um, with those who have already started to receive acceptance offers, but we are 2 weeks away, so the application deadline will be due in about 2 weeks. So if you do have any questions about um, filling out your application, questions that you have about a section or anything of that matter, don't hesitate to ask in the chat. Again, I'm here as long as I need to be here to help address questions. But this is really an opportunity for any of those applicants who have not submitted an application just yet. This is a great way for you guys to receive an answer to your question a lot quicker than in our messaging system. Now, I will say you still need to message us because this session is only available on Tuesdays at 1. But if you do have any questions that come up after the session or after business hours, you are always more than welcome to send in an internal message via your internal messaging feature in your TMDSAS application portal and let us know what kind of questions you have. If you need to make any updates to your application, that is the best way to let us know. You can also add schools to your application. That is also the best way to let us know what schools you would like to add to your application. If you need to have us unlock one of your terms, so let's say you now know what schools, sorry, what courses you will be taking in the spring, let us know that you need to unlock the spring term so you can make changes to the courses that you entered. I know in the beginning of the cycle, we instructed you to go ahead and just enter placeholders. If you now have that information about what courses you will be taking, now is the best time to let us know about those updates. So, just so you have everything in order, like kind of like a checklist, you can cross things out. I will go ahead and link in the chat the after submitting page. This page does have information, everything you need to know about what happens after you submit your application. Um, it would be nice to just complete your application, submit it, and then forget all about it, but unfortunately, that's just not the case. You want to make sure that you keep up with TMDSAS and any of the communications that go out. Make sure that you update and maintain your application. That way, it always has the most recent up to date information so the schools have that on their end. And of course, that way you don't miss any news or communications from us at TMDSAS. So I will go ahead and link the page to the after submitting page. And so earlier I mentioned the internal messaging feature in your TMDSAS application portal. On this page at the top, you'll be able to find where to locate your inbox. Your inbox is really important because if there is communication that is being sent out to you, this is where it will be located. This is also where you can send any messages to Team DSAS. Again, this is for updating courses, any other updates that need to happen with your application, and of course, if you'd like to like add schools as well. We also have information about the processing times, which, as you saw on our website, if you took a look at that, um, we do have information about what the processing time looks like right now for our primary applications. Information about test scores, once those are released, it can take up to 36 hours for Team DSCS to have those match up to your application and show as received under your status page. We also have information about letters, HP packets, our transcripts as well. Where to find the status page, that'll be on there as well with screenshots of the portal. We also have information about prerequisites and the PCR. If you don't know what the PCR is, don't worry just yet. Well, don't worry if you haven't submitted. If you have submitted your application, make sure to review your PCR. The PCR will have information about which courses count towards your prerequisite areas. This information or this report is also available for the schools to see on their end. But I did want to say that even if you do have deficiencies on this PCR, this does not mean that the schools are going to toss out your application. That is a myth. That is not what they do. The schools are not out to get you and trying to look for any minor detail to toss out an application and not give you a chance. That's not what they're doing. Um, Actually, deficiencies are pretty common. And the reason for that is because a lot of our applicants are traditional applicants, applying at the end of their junior year in college and working through interviews and all of that, taking their MCAT during their senior year, right before graduating and before matriculating. So if a lot of our students or a lot of our applicants are following that pathway. So it's actually very normal to see deficiencies. A lot of the times, a lot of those prerequisites will be completed in the second semester of your senior year, so in the spring, and that's why it's normal for there to be deficiencies. And the schools are aware about this. They know that deficiencies can occur. Applicants will address those, will fix them, might take additional classes to fulfill those prerequisites, and of course, will complete those prerequisites at the end of the spring semester. So don't worry if you see the deficiency, don't panic. Just review the information that we have on this page about what the PCR is and what to look out for. We also have information about secondary applications. We don't manage secondary applications, but we do have information about which schools will require them, how much it will cost, and how you will be notified to submit the secondary application. Same thing goes for the Casper. We don't We do not need those Casper scores. We do not manage that. But it does have information about which medical schools will require the Casper, and any other information that you may need. You can always contact Casper directly or the medical schools for additional information. We also have information about the changes after submitting. There are certain sections that you cannot make changes to after you submit. This will be the activities and the essays. So anything else besides that, you should be able to find a way to update that information or to make changes. And we do have a list of those sections under the gray box called Approve Changes After Submitting. I recommend that you expand that box to see the information that is listed there to know if you can make changes to that page or not, and what you need to do to make that change happen. We also have information about the TMDSAS match. Note the TMDSAS match is only for Texas resident medical applicants who have been interviewed by at least one TMDSAS school by the school rank preference deadline to participate in the TMDSAS match. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you're a medical applicant, feel free to look at the information that we have listed there in the after submitting page with information about the TMDSAS match. You can also look at the information about the school rank preference that I listed in the chat below. And then lastly on that page, we have a lot of questions that we typically get from our applicants. It is listed in what we call like the FAQ library at the end of that page. So if you have a question and it wasn't answered in the main part of the page, feel free to look at the frequently asked questions. And if you're still not clear or if the question is not listed, go ahead and send us a message in your internal messaging feature in your application portal. All right, so I see we have one question in the chat. I'll go ahead and take a look at that. And this is from Ingrid Arenas. If we decide we no longer are applying to this cycle and haven't submitted but did start our application, do we have to withdraw the application? Great question. This is the question that we get at this point in the cycle. No worries. If you haven't submitted your application, just leave it as it is. There's nothing that we need to do with it. The only times when we would need to withdraw the application is if you have already submitted it. Since you haven't, there's nothing else that you need to do, and you can just leave it as it is. The second follow-up question that I tend to get with this type of question is, will information roll over into my new application if I decide to apply at a later cycle? The answer is it depends. So some information from your application, if you worked on the entry year 2024 application, some information will roll over into a new application that you start at a later cycle. So I'll go ahead and link the information that we have about that in the chat. Okay, and so the information in that link will show you what sections will not roll over. And so I'll quickly just review this with you guys. But the application history, select schools, family info, financial info, essays, letters of evaluation, proof of residency, planned enrollment, chronology of activities, and your certification statement. Those pieces or those sections of the application will not roll over into a future application that you start. So the good news is if you already entered in your coursework, which typically takes the longest, especially if if you're a non-traditional applicant and you have years of school work in there, that information does roll over. So you won't have to re-enter that information again if you're ready to start or submit an application in a later cycle. All right, and so that's another reason that I'll go into the next part of that If you want to make sure that you have a copy of these schools, or anything else that you have on your application right now, I do recommend that you go ahead and download a PDF of what you've created so far, just so that way you have that copy. Yes, your information will roll over, but it's not a bad idea to keep that information with you as well. So you can, I have a template. Let me go ahead and just paste that in here so that way you guys have this as a reference to refer to when going through the steps to receive that PDF of your application. So give me just 1 second and I'll get that for you. Alrighty, and so the main thing with this is just to make sure that you have your pop-up blockers off so that way you can click on your entry year 2024 application and you're able to view it and print it if needed. All right, thank you, Ingrid, for this question. We do get this question about this point in the cycle. Um, and yeah, a lot of times our applicants find that this is probably not the best cycle to submit an application, and that's okay. Everyone has their own journey. So don't feel pressured if you decide, you know what, this is probably not the best time for me, or maybe I need more experience in my activities. Maybe I need to retake the MCAT, or life gets in the way and it's just not a good time right now. That's okay. Whenever you are ready, I did want to share that we have um, some information about what to do to prepare for the upcoming cycle. We do have an article that's kind of like a checklist, and so that'll give you some insight about what you can collect for the future, what to work on, etc. So let me go ahead and get that. Or if you also are tuning in for the first time and you're wondering about what you need to do to prepare to apply in May for the first time, this checklist will also be beneficial for you. And this checklist just has information about what you need to know, the types of prompts that are in the essay section, um, contacting your evaluators. It has a lot of information on there that would be useful to prepare for that time. I also wanted to let y'all know, go ahead and just be on the lookout for any news or information from TMDSAS in this off season. So between November to next April, it's whenever we get a lot of information about events such as reapplicant workshops, um, workshops for those first time applicants. So that also includes applicants who might have started an application but did not submit. You would still be considered a first time applicant um, next cycle if you decide to apply and submit an application. So those workshops are very useful. We get that information from the schools. So our TMDSES member institutions will give us information about workshops, seminars that are happening, and TMDSES promotes that information as well. So just be on the lookout for um, our information on our TMDSES website, on the Instagram page. Um, I'll link that as well. Our TMDSES Instagram handle. That's at TMDSAS. So the information that we get about workshops, seminars, and even the ones that we also create in April or March and April will be listed in our Instagram, on our website. It will be promoted there, so you can always be on the lookout for those future resources that will be popping up to help you in the future. You are also welcome to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. A lot of times we'll have the capability to schedule our future sessions, such as the office hours, any other workshops or presentations that we have with our TMDSAS member institutions. And the best way to be notified about those is by getting a notification once you subscribe. All right, so it looks like we don't have any questions at the moment. If you do have them, please, please, please list them in the chat. I'm here to help. I'll do my best and to address your questions, concerns, comments, anything like that. 'Cause I'll be here as long as y'all need me to. We can be here up until 1:30, up till 2. It just depends on the types of questions that y'all ask. I want to make sure that we have a space for you guys to ask. Please don't be afraid. Um, and we're just here to help. And another thing that I wanted to mention, since I did mention at the beginning of the session that the application is due November 1st. And your application, yes, your application is due November 1st, but your letters of evaluation will be due at a later time. So you don't have to have those submitted in order to submit your application. So the letters of evaluation will be due on November 15th. So after this date, TMDSCS can still collect those. We'll still upload those letters into your application. However, it will be up until the school's discretion to decide if they will still consider those in your application because it's after November 15th. So, for more information about that and important dates and deadlines, please check out the deadlines and important dates page on our website. I'll link it below as well. Yeah, so that way you're reminded about the dates that are coming up, what the rest of the cycle looks like, and just be mindful that you can submit your application on the deadline date, which my mistake, I said 5 p.m. Central Time. The deadline is actually at 11:59 p.m. So that actually works out for a lot of our applicants, since a lot of our applicants are still in college and the general timeline deadline date or time for a lot of assignments is 11:59. So this is another thing that you can add to your calendar that is due on November 1st, however, will be due at 11:59 p.m. So I hope that's helpful. I will go ahead and list that in the chat just so I can correct my 5 p.m. post earlier. All right. If I didn't fill out my coursework yet for the application, would you recommend I do just to have it roll over for the next application cycle? Yeah, you can definitely do that. We just know that the coursework page does take some time. And so if you want to go ahead and list it in there, we recommend that you use your official school transcripts. A lot of times the audits or unofficial transcripts don't necessarily have the full information about your courses. It's not always accurate. An example of that is if you have AP credit, sometimes the unofficial transcripts or the audits don't give you the actual course breakdown for those credits. And so an official copy will give you that information. So we recommend that you have your official transcript. Use that to enter your courses exactly as it appears on your transcript. And so, depending on how many schools you attended, because you would have to enter your main institution's courses, courses that you took for dual credit at the community college. And so getting that community college transcript or any other schools that you also attended throughout your college career, you'll also need to enter those as well in the application. So that's why it can take some time. If you know that you're not applying this cycle and you maybe want to apply once the new application opens in May for EY 2025, there's nothing wrong or nothing that says no that you can't go ahead and enter your courses because it does take some time. That might be helpful for you if you're wanting to apply next cycle. And it's one less thing to worry about. Alrighty, well, now I see that we definitely don't have any other questions in the chat. Thank you all so much for joining. Even if you didn't put a question in the chat, at least you got to hear some information that you didn't know, maybe, if you didn't already know. But yeah, go ahead and just take a look at that. I see we did receive one more question, so I'll go ahead and just adjust that really quickly. I noticed that the deadline for both primary and secondary applications for some schools is November 1st, but you can't start the secondary application until they receive and review the primary. Okay, so the schools know that the absolute last day that you can submit an application is November 1st. They know that it does take some time for us to be able to process and uh, be able to transmit the application to the schools. I will say it doesn't take the full 4 weeks as it would if you applied in the beginning of the cycle because there's not a lot of applications being submitted at this point in time. So it shouldn't take that much time for our team to be able to process your application and get it out to the schools. Um, I recommend if you see that they have the secondary deadline for November 1st, the same day as our primary, I recommend that you go ahead and try to submit that earlier, just so that you don't run into that issue. We saw that a lot with our veterinary applicants who waited till the last minute to submit their application. Secondary schools, one of the schools had their secondary due about a week or two after that, and it was a tight schedule for our applicants, and there was a lot of stress, a lot of confusion. Um, and our team is processing those applications as quickly as possible because we need to get those out to the schools. So in this case, I would recommend potentially getting some insight from the schools, but also seeing if you're able to submit the application earlier to avoid having to stress about that as well. To follow up with your second question, if I am currently waiting for my application to be reviewed by TMDCS, should I be worried that I may only have a few days to complete and submit my secondary applications? Um, yeah, this is a valid question. I will say our team is currently processing applications that were submitted on October 12th. So it's pretty quickly for the turnaround time. If you submitted your application between the 12th and now, our team should be getting to that submission date and being able to process your application and get it sent out to the schools. If you want to see an update on what our team is currently processing for applications, go to www.tmdsas.com. Our homepage does have that processing time. It's updated daily, and so you'll be able to see when our team gets to your submission date. But again, the schools know that as long as you submit your application by the deadline date, you are on time. They will receive your application, and they know that our team is processing as quickly as possible to get that submitted. There are less applications being submitted per day at this point in the cycle than it was in May, so it won't take the full 4 weeks to get that out to the schools. I hope that clears up a little bit of your worries. If not, I again recommend reaching out to the schools if it's all possible for those who haven't submitted. If you know that the secondary application is also due on November 1st, I recommend that you do the best you can to get that submitted earlier, just so you avoid that stress and that concern. All right, everyone. Well, I hope this was helpful. I welcome you guys to come and join us for next week or any of the other weeks that we have this offer from now up until the deadline date. And I wish you all the best of luck on this application cycle. All right, I'll see y'all next time. Bye.